Guys, welcome back to Black, White, and the Grays. My name is Kylie. We are located in Central Oregon, and we are a garden zone 3/4 with a frost risk all year round. So it makes things growing a bit challenging, to say the least, but we're overcoming it. And I just wanted to show you something that I found was interesting, and I noticed it last year, but I didn't quite realize what I was seeing until now. So let me show you real quick. So right here, I have a patch of Walla Wallas. I have them sectioned off into 3 categories. One, starts that I purchased from like a local farm store. 2, started from seed myself. The 3rd is seed I got from the store, like a seed packet. But something I noticed was these onions that are from starts, at least the Walla Wallas, in my opinion, they do good sometimes, and I've had good luck or good success with them, but they tend to flop early. Like this one's, I'll let it dry, but this one is big as she's gonna get. You see how this is flopped? It's not gonna get any bigger. There's one there, there's a few over there, and they're just not. Now some will, and some of these are getting ready to get their tops. Like this one is going to seed. And these are starts that I purchased. We go down the line. I do know for a fact these are the ones I started from. I saved. Onions, along with a lot of other vegetables, are a biannual. Typically brassicas are a biannual, meaning they don't put off a flower to save seed from until their 2nd season of growing. So these onions, I overwintered 1 onion in our smaller garden a couple years ago, and these onion seeds are 2 years old, so the germination wasn't at its peak. Onions, you really need to get, they really prefer, well, the seeds prefer to be germinated within their 1st season of being saved. So these would have been really good. I think we would have had better germination if I would have done them last year. Just didn't happen. So I did it this year, and these are them. They're obviously growing pretty good. Now you can see that we've had some different issues. And these looked really good at the beginning, and they look not as good as these now. And these, like from here over to here, are all my seed. This is store-bought seed. They did get damaged from an animal, but it's still one that isn't as good and as healthy as my own. So that is something to take note. And I'm gonna get ready. I'll show you my red wing onions. They're getting ready to get their tops chopped. Probably not gonna do it tonight. It takes way longer than you think it will, and I'm not feeling that motivated. This video is going to go on till tomorrow too. So, but I just thought I would share that with you because it's very interesting to me to see the differences that these had a slower start, my onions that I grew, but they're by far the stronger ones. And it's just amazing to see. Also, as I'm about to, I'll just show you over here so you can understand what I'm talking about. Hey, don't eat my eggs, kitty. Okay, so here are, here's my tag. Oh, and this is why I ordered garden markers, because there's nothing here. I know these are red wing because I put a red tag with it, just in case. These are my red onions. I multi-sow. I get a lot of my gardening advice from Charles Dowding, and he does this. So these are multi-sowed onions. You can see there's 4 right here, 3 or 4 typically in a clump. And these guys are what I'm going to show you right here. You see how they're starting to flop? That means they're ready to get clipped. Not all of them, but a lot of them. They're starting to flop over, which if they flop over at the neck right here, they're done growing. You're not going to get any more. The basically like the circulation is how I think of it. The circulation to the bulb is cut off, and that's as big as your bulb is going to get. So at this point in time, I need to make up compost tea. I've never made compost tea. I really need to get into it because I have been last year. I do have some fish fertilizer I could use. Hey, man. Oh, fresh. I do have some fish fertilizer that I could be using, but I'd really like to learn how to make compost tea. Hey, get on my onions. So what I've been doing, and when I've had really good success with these, I trim my tops. Now, my word of wisdom to local people, you try your own, because we have so many microclimates around here. It might be different for you, but for my experience, I have clipped these. I clip them in July. You're safe and sound. Now, my first year, and I got some good onions, but my first succession planting of onions, I clipped in July. I didn't have a second clipping, and I was able to harvest them really good. But my second ones that weren't ready, or my ones that were smaller that I left in, I clipped again the tops in August, and we happened to get a really, really hard freeze at the end of August a couple years ago, and it ended up making them smushy. And onions are very frost hardy, but I have found with clipping the tops, when you're that close to a hard freeze, not a frost, a freeze, that you could damage your bulbs. So from my experience, again, I never want to be the bossy person that tells you this is the way it goes, because I feel like it can range for so many people in so many different areas. In my experience, where we live with frost all year round, clipping them once in July gives you a good enough time for them to regrow and keep forming bulbs. The amount of greenery you see, it's like a tree trunk. Like, that's how many rings it's going to have, is by the amount of greens that you see. So also, you want to clip them I leave about 6 to 8 inches. So if I were to clip, sorry, my kitty is just all up into business. Yes. So if I were to clip this particular, oh my gosh, Fraser. If I were to clip this particular onion, I would go right about here. I would say that's about 6 inches up from the base. Also, another tip is I have read and learned and watched some people really recommend spooning your onions. In the olden days, they would literally take a spoon and go around the bulb. Nowadays, I'm sure people can use, obviously you can still use a spoon, but I would just, oh, you just are attention starved. I would just come in here and scrape it away from the bulb, because I find when the bulb has less dirt and pressure around it, it wants to grow bigger. I am losing a ton of daylight, and I'm getting grainy on my camera, and I can tell that it is not the best quality, but that is my little tidbit of onion advice, and that is that. Now I want to take these tops and I want to dehydrate them this year and make like a green onion powder. But I also saw from last year, my sister sent me Becky's video from Acre Homestead, that she made onion top pesto. Now, Becky doesn't live too far away from us, but she's in a very, very different climate, because we are over the Cascade Mountains from each other. I think she lives close to Portland, but you can still learn things from people in very different climates. I'm sure most of you do not live in a zone 3 with a frost risk all year round. And in fact, I think a lot of you have very, very more mild or warmer climates than me, and we can still learn from each other. I love getting your advice and tips in my comments, and you live in completely different climates. We can knowledge. I always think when I tell people, oh, I'm living in zone 3 with a frost, that it scares people away from the channel, because they're like, wow, this girl, she's crazy. And people always wonder why I live here. Well, I live here because it's gorgeous and it's beautiful, and it's where we're supposed to be. This is where the Lord told us to be, so we're here. That's simple as that. And where you're supposed to be and where you're called to be is more important than what growing season you live in. I can obviously grow a lot. It's just, it is approaching mid-July, and probably not a lot of you have carrots and peas and broccoli and cabbages and onions and beets still in the ground. And also, if you're near here, we have a big greenhouse over here that we are pounding out the tomatoes hopefully this year. Several hundred tomatoes. Oh, yes. What do you think, Fraish? Time for bed? Yep. Okay, guys, we'll see you in the morning. Goodbye. Oh, are you just attention starved, Fraish? Yes, 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 yes. Yes, yes, yes. Okay, guys, it is a few days later. In the first half of this video, I edited it and realized, look, this is my giant harvest knife. It's a Fiskars. I needed one this year. I felt like it was time. So I'm going to be chopping my onion tops. Not off, just trimming them. I'm going to leave about 6 to 8 inches. By doing that, it's going to really encourage the energy to go down in the bulb. And then it'll really encourage the bulb to keep getting bigger. So that is what we're going to do. I'll show you what I got going on here. Alright, so I'm just going to go here about 6 to 8 inches up and just put it in this handy dandy basket. I have this dang wire grass. You don't want to go too short. Don't go too short on your bulbs. Any dead bits, trim off. And while you're here, might as well spoon around your onions. Just give the bulb some air. Nice fresh air. Helps not compress the bulb, it helps it be able to grow. After I'm done with all this, today or tomorrow after I've, whatever I decide. Some of these aren't ready, don't care. Just doing it because I'm here. It won't hurt them. Whatever, I'm going to come back through and I'm going to fertilize. You really want to fertilize your soil because onions are heavy feeders and you need to put that energy back into your soil to be able to keep feeding your onions. Jess at Roots and Refuge, hence the t-shirt, has a perfect, she said this, if you're not feeding plants, you're feeding the soil. Therefore, the soil can feed the plants. That's where I've heard it there the best, and it makes more sense. In my brain, it used to be, you need it, the onions are heavy feeders, the potatoes are heavy feeders, you need the garlic, whatever, you need to fertilize the plants. You're fertilizing the soil to be able to grow bigger plants. This tool is a game changer. And weed in here too. While you're here, even if they don't seem ready to be spooned, it's a good time to do it just because you're here, and saves efficiency, you know? Works out. That thing is sharper than all get out. Dang. So there is half my onions trimmed, and these are the ones that aren't. So that's the difference. Okay, well the good news is my knife is really sharp. The bad news is my knife is really sharp. I'm about to need another band-aid. Okay, well, I told that same joke to Trey. He thinks I got bad mom jokes. I do. It's a fact of life. Okay, but anyways, this is a really good knife. Also, last year and the year prior, which there's nothing wrong with it, it's just time consuming. I'm over here like, clipping them with my clippers. Not ideal. These are Hassengarten. They're Swiss. They're not the Felcos. They're not Felcos, but they are, they're like a more affordable version of Felcos. Trey got them for me for Christmas 2 years ago. They're still really in good condition, and I really like them. Okay, so a couple announcements. Not really announcements. Praise reports. We haven't done praise reports in a while, so if you're been around the channel some, I do these praise reports like the old churches. I'm sure I keep saying the old churches, but I'm sure there's some churches that still do it, which I think is charming. Is praise reports. Okay, so first praise report. Well, first and foremost is these onions, that they're actually doing good, because last year I had a complete fail and didn't even get to, I think I planted some and they just sucked bad. And then like things ate them and it was just bad. I think I couldn't keep the deer out. But different story. Okay, so anyway, so I'm going to link both of these tools below, and this is just like a random fact for you. We do not make any money on this channel yet. Very close, but we don't. So I have made a teeny bit, not even enough to like cash it out on my Amazon affiliate link, but I have only put an affiliate link up once. So there's that. But I'm gonna put these down. They are affiliate links, and if you buy through my link, I get a small kickback, but I make no money currently. So if you choose to buy it or not, it doesn't really make a difference to me. But I thought you should see these two things are quite valuable to me in the garden. Obviously this one I just used, but it's very sharp. Okay. Oh, and also today, Bonnie, I just got your gift you sent to me. This is on my wish list for my Amazon. It's in the description of all my videos, and this is my first gift I've received off of it. I have received other gifts from another viewer for flower tulips. That was a big deal, and this is a big deal. Bonnie, I just appreciate you. You're so kind to me in all of your comments, but this was just the cherry on top. It's a Sunday right now, and we just found it. I think it was delivered yesterday or the day before, but we just found it, and I was like, I've been wanting this cookbook for a while, and I didn't know where it came from. But I just thank you so much. Thank you so much. That was such a blessing, such a little treat to receive and open, and so unexpected. So thank you so much. I appreciate it, and that was just such a treat. So thank you so much for doing that. Made my day. Let's get these onions clipped, and spooning as I go. Okay, that was the fastest I've ever clipped the tops. I'm like, it's got my eyes stinging. These are some potent onions. This is the first. My eyes haven't been stinging from cutting tops, but we got quite a bit of tops. This is my nifty basket. It's not a small basket by any means. It was a pretty good basket, and this is just one of my spots. So this is at the first part of this third bed, and the rest, these are leeks, and there's this first bed. There's the first bed of Walla Wallas that you saw, and they're like not as thickly going as these are my red wing storage onions, which this is actually the first year my red onions have done any good. I've had a lot of trouble with red onions, purple carrots, and red cabbages. I just like getting them to do good. These ones are my yellow storage varieties, my Pattersons. They're doing really well, but they're not ready to be chopped yet. So there's that, guys. There's my little onion tip video. Essentially, I will link the video wherever it is. I used to be good at this, but I don't know where it is, of me starting them from seeds and showing you kind of what I do with that this year and the year prior. No. Okay, so I've grown onions from seed for 3 years. First year, it was like beginner's luck, massive freaking huge onions. I mean, some were just like bigger than the palm of my hand and just that year they lasted me basically until the following spring with my onions, or pretty close to spring, and with storing wise. And I think I still have some from that year in the freezer. Maybe just like a little pint bag or quart bag or something in the freezer. So we're technically still eating on them, but they could have been gone by now. Anyway, the moral of the story. Grown a lot of onions. We're gonna store them. First year did great. Second year was last year, and I had trouble in the get-go. First year I started in the greenhouse and just kind of left them in there. Last year I did the same thing. I overwatered them and rotted them, and then I realized I think I kept them in there too long. I was really trying to get them bigger, and that was a mistake. Just plant them out when they're little baby hairs. I highly recommend growing from seed. I think there's a big misconception on it being really hard to do. It's not that hard to do. Now, there's chances of overwatering and doing stuff like that, and I think you just have to kind of be ready and prepared for some mistakes to happen, because isn't that gardening? Like, that's how you learn, that's how you adapt. And this year I think I got it nailed down. A good year, which I really tried hard for. It wasn't like a fluke. I worked hard for that year of onions. Last year I thought I was like, oh, I got this. Got a little too cocky there. This year, I'm like, I'm going back to my ways. I'm gonna be very careful. I started them in February, I think end of February, late February, early March, inside in just a seed tray with no holes, and did it that way under grow lights, and then transplanted them out in April. I clipped them in there, and then I gave them, nope, just kidding. I started them in there under grow lights, and then March I moved them out to my unheated greenhouse, half in ground, so they would get frosted and freezing, and the soil would freeze up. And then when they'd get tall, here's my leeks. These are leeks I grew from seed, direct sowing in the ground. They're little guys. The leeks would take a long time to grow, but so I'm not going to be planning on harvesting these guys till probably like October, maybe if we have a milder fall, which we've had, maybe beginning of November. I'm going to push them as far as I can to get just big fat leeks. If you haven't had a leek, they're so good. I haven't really grown them since 4 years ago, and they were in our little garden. They did so good. Anyway, this is what these are actually kind of big for what I did, but the little hair ones like this is exactly what my onions looked like when we planted them out. These guys were little hairs. Oh, if you guys have any questions, throw them in the comments below. I was tagged in a gardening group thing today. I'd filmed this first part of this video like 3 or 4 days ago, and today I was messaged in tagged a few times in our gardening group for onions, and this is just my way of doing it. You can grow from sets, you can grow from starts. Ironically, I was talking about my starts. I think I find them weaker, but they do good. You will get some onions, more so than the sets. The sets, if you get, I've never seen them get more than an inch or two around, and to me, if I'm growing onions, I want like onions, like onions. I have some Melissa Craigs in here that can get up to like 7 pounds. That's what I'm talking about. I need that in my life. And so if you are fine and that's all you need is a little round, small onion like some of my Walla Wallas are doing, that's great. Then you don't need to do anything else. My goal is to get as self-sufficient as possible. So learning to grow from seed, learning to save seed, learning how to overwinter my onions or harvest them and replant them when they're growing their greens. Learning how to do all of that is my goal, and I want that goal for as I become a better and better gardener. I want to learn that for all of my plants. That way I'm not relying on a store or a seed company to give me food. So there's that. Do with my advice what you will. There's a lot of conflicting advice. This is what works for me, and if you are a local, you can take it or leave it. There's lots of advice out there. Listen to whoever, but I encourage you to do it. Find a way, do it. Take a little bit of my advice, take a little bit of so-and-so's advice, and so-and-so and Joe Schmo's, and do what works for you. Where we live in a tricky area to grow, and we have microclimates within our microclimate. So like, we're a microclimate of a zone 3-4, but within these climates it's so different. From the beginning of where I live, you come down our road, I don't know, a mile away. Some years they have like no snow. You come back to where we are, you have about a foot of snow. Like, just differences in 2 minutes. You saw how my parents got hit with that crazy hail and we didn't get anything. 4 miles makes a massive difference. My garden's thriving, their garden's gone. You just don't know. So I encourage you. I don't want to discourage you. I don't want to make this overcomplicated. Yeah, I put in a lot of steps because I found what works for me. Now, I fertilize with, you want me to show you what I fertilize with? Let's go look. This greenhouse is crazy in here. I haven't been in here a while because it's been a crazy disaster. Okay, we got some volunteer sunflowers. We got some gladiolas. We got parsley going to seed. I got a rose about to bloom. I got random mishmash. I got some larkspur blooming. What am I in here for? Oh, my fish. All right, this is I've had for a few years, and it's not even half empty. I think the label's a little faded, but this is the fish fertilizer, Alaska. I paid 20 bucks a couple years ago. I don't know inflation, everything. It's OMRI listed, so it's safe to use. It's good to go. Like, smells like dead fish because it is, and it's brown. It looks like diarrhea. See, it's really appetizing, but I don't even measure it. You can read the label. I just plop it in a sprayer. I got one in here somewhere. This is what I'm about to do. I'm going to plop it in a sprayer and go about and spray all the leaves of my plants out there, my onions, and my garlic, and my leeks, all my alliums out there. I'm going to spray them, and then it's just going to soak into the soil and feed the soil. And I'll get all around them. Get them all fed. Everybody get that soil all nice and fed. So that is the product I use. I got some issues on this apple tree over here. I need to deal with that. Some sort of pest. Is this one? Same tree. That one's doing awesome. This one's on the struggle bus, and now I'm seeing discoloration of the leaves. So I need to examine that. I might just not examine. I can see there's just a bug problem here. So what I'm gonna do, this is a total distraction. I need to get some soapy water and just spray the crap out of that. Dawn dish soap. Not exactly organic, but it's better than my tree dying. Okay, so this is what I use. And then I just like one of those weed killer sprayers. If you use weed killer, I don't recommend that, but and make sure it's a new one or something that was used for something that didn't have poison in it, and use it for your plants. Otherwise you'll be spraying poison on your plants. Kind of counterproductive. Okay, I have one in here. Huh. Oh, you want to see something? We were eating on this lettuce for the early spring. Now it's going. I need to have a good cry. I'm like seriously about to cry. Do you remember? Okay. Do you remember a few videos ago? Shoot, I don't even know what video it was, ages ago. I had these little figs in this greenhouse. I was like, they're dead. They're gonna come back. No, I thought they were deader than a doornail. Hello, little baby fig. Hello, little baby fig. Oh, and that grape I thought was deader than a doornail, not dead. And this is the grape I thought was deader than a doornail, not dead. And he did not die. Okay, anyway, these are my lettuces going to seed. And they're starting to get their little seed pods. Isn't that cool? Yeah, so I have 2 different varieties. This guy's doing it too. He looks like a Christmas tree, like from Whoville. Look at that. Whoville Christmas tree. So I'm saving seeds. Praise the Lord for my fig trees. It's the Chicago Hardy fig. I thought they would do really well in here because it doesn't freeze in here in the night, in the winter, or, well, at that level it wouldn't. And I thought maybe I'd have a chance to grow them out. I think they're a zone 6. Okay, well, maybe since we're halfway down the ground, we're in a zone 6. Hopefully. Oh, I'm just like yakking at you guys. I'm just really excited. We got a lot going on. It's fun. Alright guys, there's my onion video. I'm going to edit this. Hopefully it's not all over the place. Hopefully you can learn something. There's bits of knowledge, but let me just recap for you. And I'm not going to recap the seed things. I have plenty of videos about that. I'm just going to recap what I do. When they get that big tall and they start flopping over the greens, I clip them back 6 to 8 inches from the bottom. Sometimes it might be a little shorter, sometimes a little taller. Just doesn't really matter. It doesn't matter. Unless you're getting close to hard freeze, then it matters. Don't do that. Okay, but clip them back. I spoon away the dirt while I'm clipping. That makes it really easy. You can tell when I'm really tired. FYI, I just grew up in West Virginia, and sometimes the little West Virginian comes out of me. So that's when you know I'm getting a little tired. Okay, so the flop over, spoon them, then you get yourself a sprayer and spray your onions, spray your soil, get it all good and fertilized. It's really good for your potatoes and your garlics and your leeks and your onions, that soil, because just they're such heavy feeders. You could even make a compost tea, which I know nothing about. I'm not the person to do that for you, but this is something I've worked really hard on and done my research on these onions, and it's brought me success. So I feel like I can show you, I can give you advice, or not even really advice, just tell you about my experiences and see if it works for you. Might as well, especially if you live in this area. What's the harm? Might not work, or what I say might actually work. Now, costs are high right now for everything, so I understand, which is why I would highly recommend looking into some compost tea and making that just out of stuff you got at home. I've seen people use banana peels and just like a bunch of vegetable scraps and just manure. In this area where we live at, if you don't have some sort of animal, you know somebody, or your preacher knows somebody, or your friend knows somebody, or your cousin or your aunt knows somebody who has livestock to help you out. That's my piece of advice. Take it or leave it. Don't care. Okay. Also, just be encouraged to grow. You can grow things here. You can do it. Alright guys, I'll see you on my next video. Thanks so much for following along. Be sure to subscribe. And again, Bonnie, thanks so much for your kind, generous gift. It meant a lot. Bye guys.